My name is Alexandra Van Dorsten, and my project was on the use of virtual reality and simulations to teach genetic mutations. I chose this topic because it was something I struggled to teach this semester, and because we do not have the means or the time to do a hands-on mutation laboratory experiment. This makes the topic a good candidate for virtual reality and simulations. The lesson is designed for a high school honors biology class. This is usually grades 9 and 10. The North Carolina standards addressed in the lesson are listed and include an understanding of protein synthesis and how mutations lead to changes in protein structure and function. I have linked my entire concept map on my PowerPoint, but I can't fit the whole thing on the next slide, so I zoomed in on the most important part. The main misconception to dispel is that all mutations are bad. After determining student beliefs and teaching necessary prerequisite information, this is steps 1 and 2 in the orange boxes, virtual reality can be used to help students understand mutations and their effect on proteins. For step 3, I actually used virtual reality in combination with an online simulation. So this lesson plan that I created is for step 3. Step 4 is to relate mutations to evolution so that students can understand that some mutations actually allow us to be more fit for our environment. The engage phase of my 5E lesson plan consists of a short 10 to 15 minute activity where students manipulate by rotating and pulling apart hemoglobin and DNA polymerase in order to discuss their structure in relation to their function. This is all in 3D because it is virtual reality. The explore phase is when students use an online simulation to change a DNA sequence, and they write observations on how these changes affect the resulting protein. In the explain phase, students work with groups to define and assign mutation type based on how they change the original DNA sequence and then how that change affects the resulting protein. They create a whiteboard presentation that includes 2 examples of their mutation that they created themselves using the simulation. In the elaborate phase, students are given a sequence of DNA. They transcribe and translate it into an amino acid sequence and search this sequence on the BLAST database. They must then determine which gene codes for the protein that their amino acid sequence is a part of. Then, as a culminating assignment, students research a disease that is caused by a mutation in that gene and discuss the location and the type of mutation as well as its effect on the organism. The teacher will collect this assignment to grade, but should also check in throughout the lesson, asking questions to determine students' degree of understanding. To dispel the main misconception that all mutations are bad will require at least one additional lesson focused on advantageous mutations. This lesson plan was simply an introduction to mutations. The second misconception, that smaller mutations have a smaller effect on proteins than bigger mutations, can be corrected through class discussion and the use of the simulation focused on frame shift mutations. By the end of this lesson, students should be well equipped to analyze the effects of each mutation type that's listed on the screen on the resulting protein structure and function. 2 challenges that teachers may come across as they go through this lesson is that students may become overwhelmed if the correct focusing questions are not posed for the Z-space activity. This is because the models that the Z-space program uses for proteins are really complex, so without scaffolds, students may become overwhelmed. And time management, the DNA to Disease project will take a substantial amount of time, so if teachers do not want students doing this at home, then this lesson may take 2 days instead of 1. The main responsibilities of the teacher are to guide students through inquiry with questions and by leading group discussions, and students have to be willing to change their beliefs work with their peers, and participate in order for this lesson to be successful.